tossers have thrown it out the door with their behaviour this week. They should be ashamed of themselves. They should absolutely look at themselves in the mirror and wonder what the have they been doing. They were hissing at us and calling us cheats in the Lord's long room, and they have the gall to talk to us about the spirit of cricket. Absolute bullshit.
There's a big appeal, it's hit him on the pad, he's out! Lions gone, New South Wales are 9 down, onto Sydney Road, and it's hit a car! Oh, I think it's hit a car! What a way to bring up your 50!
All you want is to leave it all behind. Now there is a simple remedy to stay fit for all eternity.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Cricket Unfiltered. I am Manners and Australia are 1-0 up in the Ashes. Can you fucking believe it? It is the end of the second day and Bazball capitulated after lunch. The test match was turned on its head and Australia have snatched a famous victory. Scotty Boland, Mitchell Starc, Brendan Doggett and Travis Head, they're the four big heroes this afternoon because at lunchtime England were 1 for 59. They were motoring ahead of the Australians. They almost had a 100-run lead at that stage. It looked like they were going to bat Australia out of the game. And then after lunch, Scotty Boland took 3 wickets in 11 balls. Then Mitchell Starc took Joe Root just after that. And they completed 4 wickets in 19 balls to completely change the tide in this test match. And did Stokes and Bazball have any answers? No, they fucking didn't. They didn't. Put under the heat, they absolutely collapsed. And we are gone 1-0 up after a scintillating Travis Head 123. How do you sum up, how do you talk about a 2-day test match? I thought yesterday was tough when we had 19 wickets, but today takes the cake. Australia were on the canvas. This is what Australian sport is built upon. You're on the canvas, you're down, but you get up and you fight and you win. It was just incredible. In the last session, Australia chased down 205 to win the match at over 7 runs and over. Can you believe it? All the pressure coming into this series, all the stuff with Khawaja where he completely fucked our batting lineup, all of that stuff going on didn't matter. Travis Head smashed 123 off 83 balls. He's etched his name into Ashes folklore again. He did it in the last home Ashes and he has done it here. The 3rd fastest test century for Australia in test cricket. We know Gilly has the record when he smashed Monty Panesar into the next suburb here. Then Sid Gregory has the record for the 2nd fastest at 67 balls. But then Travis Head, 3rd fastest, equal with David Warner, who did it in Perth as well against India, of 69 balls. What a day to do it. You know, when you're chasing a low target, anything can happen. You think about the pressure on this Australian team to perform. You think about Archer, Wood, Cass, Atkins and Stokes coming at you. And we did it in a canter. I mean, you can shove your Bazball up your ass. Trav ball is the way to go. That was something special. So much to talk about, but I guess I want to call out Scotty Boland because I said yesterday Scotty Boland needs to step up today, and he stepped up in a big, big way. After lunch, he got Duckett, Pope, and Brook all out very, very quickly. God, I'm emotional, I can hardly talk. He got them out 3 wickets in 11 balls when his career maybe he was facing the end of his test career. I mean, he maybe gets dropped. If he doesn't perform well, he gets dropped. He's 35, 36. Not much chance of coming back there. And again, with his career on the line, he took 3 wickets. Then Starc joined in and got Root out. And we had 4 for 19. And then England just collapsed. I mean, this will hurt England. I just heard Stokes' press conference. Boy, does he look dejected. He was down and out, disconsolate. He wouldn't take any criticism of the way England batted because after lunch, all England needed to do was bat for half an hour, get through that tough period. And then Australia may be facing a target 250, 300. But they weren't smart enough. And Stokes was saying in the press conference, we've seen on this wicket that the best way to score runs is be aggressive. I get that. But you still got to pick the right ball to hit, and they absolutely tanked it in that second session. So, yeah, England were bowled out in the second session. They lost 9 wickets, and then Australia chased down the target on the second day. This is crazy stuff. A 2-day test match to kick off the Ashes. It is fast-forward cricket. I still can't believe it, actually, that we're standing here. I'm standing here on the sort of Perth Nets outfield, and I'm wrapping up the test match. Australia, a famous victory. I've got to say, at lunchtime, I was saying in the lunchroom, I was sitting next to Gideon Haig and Ali Martin, and I was saying to them, I think Australia's gone. I think we're gone, because England just need to bat for a few hours now and get that lead 250, 300. And boy, that's going to be tough for our batting order with, no Khawaja. He didn't bat in the second innings. We'll talk about that later. But no Khawaja, Weatherald on debut, Marnus returning to the side, Wood and Archer bowling heat. I just thought England were going to run away with it. But geez, I'm an idiot, because I forgot at lunch what England are like. I mean, do I need to remind you? 21-22, 4-0, 17-18, 4-0, 13-14, 5-0, 6-7, 5-0. We'll just skip past 10-11. But they still haven't won a test match here in 15 years, and this will hurt because they had Australia on the ropes, down and out. They should be going 1-0 up themselves, but they're not, and now they're going to have to play catch-up cricket. Australia goes to the Gabba, a day-and-night test. They've only lost one pink ball test. That was to the West Indies when Shamar Joseph destroyed us. So they will go into this pink ball test very, very confident. And Australia, before England knows it, could be 2-0 up in the Ashes like 2023. Now, one thing I'm not going to do like I did in 2023 is crow too early about these miserable Poms. I still think there's a very, very good chance Australia beats them 4 or 5-0. But let's just wait till Sydney for all the crowing. But at this stage, you would have to say England look rattled. I mean, that was just an absolutely disastrous performance today. So some stats, some stuff to talk about. So England's 2 innings in this match lasted a combined 405 balls. That is the fastest they've been bowled out twice in a test match since 1904. So when Stokes is saying, you just need to play aggressively, they didn't last 35 overs in both innings. So don't tell me that you need to be aggressive. You do need to be aggressive, but not that aggressive. So, I mean, that's a record they broke from, 120 years ago. So, Stokes and Baz came here to break some records. I don't think they wanted to break that record. But, yeah, so, first session, Australia started at 9 for 123. They made 9 more runs before being dismissed. And then England started their innings. And unbelievably, and this is where the action really started, Mitchell Starc took an absolutely phenomenal caught and bowled off Zach Crawley, 5th ball of the innings. He was gone. Starc was diving away to his left, clutch it just inches above the turf. And it was one of the most phenomenal caught and bowled catches I've ever seen. Zach Crawley was out for a pair in the test match, and England were 1 for none. That is the first time in test history that 3 innings in a test match have been 1 for none. And from there, though, Duckett and Pope batted well. They got the score to 59. And, when you chase in the game like Australia is, you have to do everything right. And before lunch, I thought England were really good and the conditions looked good to bat in. And if you'd said to me after lunch that England were going to get knocked over in that session, I would have hoped you were right, but I don't think I'd have believed you. So, as I said, they go to lunch almost 100 ahead. I'm thinking match is gone. And then, as I said, after the lunch break, it was really Scotty Boland who tore through that top order and really turned the game on its head. So he had Duckett out for 28. He was caught by Smith in slips. Then Ollie Pope was caught by the wicketkeeper for 33 off Boland. And Harry Brook, Khawaja, actually held on to a catch at first slip, and he was out for a duck after his run a ball half century in the first innings. Couldn't get off the mark. Khawaja went off not long after this catch, but thank God he took that catch because he's had an absolute stinker of a game. Back spasms, though, apparently have got worse today. They were saying at the press conference, and we might not ever see Usman Khawaja in the test side again, the way Travis Head performed at the top of the order. So that had Australia, that had England at 4 for 76, and then 5 for 76 when Root was out. Then it could have been 6 for 76, but Khawaja dropped Jamie Smith. The ball was down low off Starc, and it would have been 2 wickets in the over for Starc. And Khawaja couldn't hold on to it, and it was very frustrating because, as I said, when you're chasing the game, you have to do everything right. And poor Khawaja dropped that one. Didn't look good getting down to the ball, and I have no idea why Khawaja was in first slip with a bad back. I mean, that just seems to me like poor team management. But not long after that, Ben Stokes was out, edging one to Smith at second slip of Mitchell Starc. Huge performance from Starc because, at that stage, Stokes and Smith were together, and we all know what a match winner Stokes is. Then Smith was out not long after to Doggett. Moment of controversy, sort of went to flick one around the corner, seemed to catch the bottom of the bat. It wasn't given out, it was reviewed, and there was a very slight murmur on the bat, and people on Twitter were saying, Marnus was given not out for the same thing yesterday, but this murmur was far more noticeable. The ball was much closer to the bat, and the technology works as such, and Lisa Stalaker and Simon Taufel have clarified this for me, that basically if the murmur is only one frame behind the images, you still accept it as being synced up, because I think the way the technology works is you can't get it exactly frame by frame lined up with the audio. So anyway, Smith was out, definitely out, because as soon as he saw the replay, he started walking up. So I think he knew he'd hit it. He was just maybe trying his luck to see if the nick hadn't registered on Snicko. So that was just a very big wicket for Australia. And then nice little partnership between Carson and Atkinson. They put on a very quick 50. And look, I thought it could be decisive because that got the target over 40 for Australia. Over 200. And, chasing anything over 200 in the fourth innings of a test match is not easy. But, I didn't account for the brutality that Travis Head would show in that last session. Eventually, Cast was out, caught behind for 20 by Doggett, and Jofra Archer caught by Smith off Doggett for 5, and England all out 164. That's right. After being 1 for 59, they lost 9 for 105 when the first test was on the line. Maybe baseball just doesn't stick up to pressure. Maybe it just doesn't. I said this in the last Ashes. Maybe it's just not designed for big cricket because they can't win the big series. They just can't do it. They haven't beaten India, haven't beaten Australia yet. Let's hope they don't turn it around, but maybe they're just not up for it. So Mitchell Starc finished that innings 3 for 55, so he took 10 wickets in the match, the third time he's done that in his career. And amazingly, he was given the Player of the Match award. Not often a bowler gets it over a batter, so I guess the Bowlers Union and the fast bowling cartel would be very, very happy with Mitchell Starc getting the Player of the Match award. But Scotty Boland, 4 for 33. He, to me, turned that innings around for Australia, and great to see the Scotty Boland of old destroying England. Brendan Doggett, 3 for 51, looks every bit a test player and ready for the series. And I guess with doubts over Cummins and Hazelwood, we might see a lot more of Brendan Doggett. Just an incredible middle session. As I said, just everything was turned on its head. It was a second over after lunch. Boland started taking the wickets. And that was when Boland took that wicket after lunch. It was his first wicket against England in 4 test innings. Thank you, Rick Finlay, for that stat. But struggled in the first innings here, struggled in his last performances in England. Joe Root was off the mark first ball. He didn't want to get out for a pair, but then he was out pretty soon after. So in the end, Boland really turned the match after that game, after that lunch break. Just incredible. So after the innings, the innings finished at the tea break. Australia set 205 to win, and I thought it was going to be difficult. To be honest, I didn't think it would be easy. I didn't think it would be as easy as it looked like it would be. But then My goodness. So everyone in the press box was sort of waiting to see who would open the batting with Jake Weatherald. Khawaja had been off the field for a long time. The reports were coming back that his back was worse than first thought. So yesterday I said I thought the back was made up. Well, maybe it's not, but I guess we'll talk a little bit about a story that came out overnight. But I just want to stick with the review for the moment. So Weatherald was joined by his good mate Travis Head, and Travis Head and Jake Weatherald have played a lot of cricket for the Adelaide Strikers together. And Head said after play he wanted to open. You know, there was talk about maybe sending Nathan Lyon or someone up there so they could keep the order the same. But Travis said he wanted to do it. He wanted to take some pressure off Weatherald. And Australia got off to a flying start, going at 6 runs and over very early. Weatherald did take 11 balls to get off the mark, but eventually did. And Head and Weatherald put on a beautiful 75-run opening stand. Obviously, Head did most of the heavy lifting, but you could just see things were going his way. He was angling balls over the slips for 6. He was backing away and smashing balls through cover. Just incredible. So the 50 came up for Australia in just 9.3 overs. Australia was none for 55, going at 6 and over. And then Weatherald was out for 23 off 34 when the score was 75. He was looking so good at this stage. I mean, he's a square of the wicket player. He left a few out there in this innings, but he played a good couple of pull shots, a nice square cut. But then he was out just trying to work one on the onside that ballooned off the top of the bat to cover and broke that opening partnership. But Steve Smith said it after play, when you're chasing 205, if you can get off to a good partnership to get things going, it just settles the nerves in the dressing room. But I'll tell you what settled the fucking nerves. Travis Head went to 50 off just 36 balls. At one stage, he smashed Stokes for 3 boundaries in a row, 4 in the over, and he just destroyed England. I mean, they just did not have a plan. They were bowling short to him, they were bowling wide to him, and Stuart Broad in the commentary box just didn't understand what they were doing. Just didn't understand the bowling plans to Head. At one point, Archer dropped short. He not only did he drop short, he dropped about 15 kilometres in pace. I don't think this England bowling attack was nearly as effective. Well, they just weren't as fast as yesterday. They couldn't back up, and when you think about today, we saw 3 innings. Australia started off batting and then it ended with Australia batting. So, it puts a lot of pressure on your bowling attack when you only bat for 30-odd overs. But at one point, Travis said straight pulled Archer for 6. And that's when I started to think, okay, well, we're going to get this easily. I mean, England were gone. Bloody gone they were. So, as I said, Head brought up his 100 off 69 balls. Century in a session. His 10th Test century. Maybe his finest ever Test century. I mean, he did it at the Gabba 4 years ago when the Ashes series was starting and he wanted to assert Australia's dominance. But I think this 4th innings chase, under the sort of pressure the Australian batting lineup was, is probably a better 100. And, Head is clutch. World Test Championship final, 100. World Cup final, 100. First Test of the Ashes 4 years ago, 100. First Test of the Ashes here, 400. I mean, that's some kind of record. He also needed some runs. It's his first Test century since the Adelaide Test last year against India. I was at that Test match as well. So Marnus Labuschagne was batting at 3. He looks very good. It was perfect for him just to sit back and watch Head take them apart. But they put on 100 of just 85 balls. Head was eventually out for 123 off 83 balls, 16 4s and 4 6s, 117 run stand between Head and Marnus. And small chases can get nervy. You get off to a good start, though. If you lose a few wickets with Australia's long tail, you don't want to leave anything to chance. And this Australian side, led by Steve Smith, they didn't leave anything to chance because it was a flawless performance this afternoon. And I have to say, very good stuff from the England team. They must have been hurting, but they all congratulated Travis Head. They all most of them made an effort to go up to him as he was going off and shake his hand, or he and Ben Duckett had a little hug. So, nice sportsmanship. So Marnus then brought up his 50 off 49 balls, and it was interesting. Australia needed 7 to win. So Marnus skipped down the track off route. He was on 45 and just lifted him over long on for 6 to bring up his 50. He remained 51 not out of 49 balls. He certainly played his part. A successful return to Test cricket for Marnus Labuschagne. And the next over, Steve Smith brought up the winning runs, the captain who has never lost a test when he's filled in for Pat Cummins. His perfect record stays that way. And jubilant scenes. I mean, the atmosphere in Perth Stadium was electric. I've got to say, I don't think the English fans enjoyed it as much as the Australian fans, but it was an electric afternoon's cricket. You just can't expect somebody to go out and smash 123 when the match is on the line, and for him to do it, just sensational. So, as I said, Starc player of the match. Famous scenes here at Perth Stadium. I mean, this will be a test match talked about for years and years. A 2-day test match, almost 50,000 people here to see today's play. So over the 2 days, this is a great stat. Over the 2 days, they have broken the whole test attendance record for a test match in Perth in 2 days. They didn't even need 3 days to do it. 100 grand in 2 days has broken the all-time test attendance record in Perth. So that's a hell of a result. The only thing I will say is probably the real loser today is Todd Greenberg, the CEO of Cricket Australia. He's made all these dumb comments about wanting to get on the roller himself and make the test matches go longer so they can make more money. I get it, and I applaud his honesty, but just say you want to beat England 5-0. Say something like that, because, I don't know, the way this English team is playing, I just don't know how many test matches are going to make it to the 4th day. Gabba test could be another 2-day test. Adelaide, well, it's a day test there, and the pitch there has been a little slower, so maybe we see a traditional test match, and then it's Boxing Day in the SCG, and let's see, if England are gone by then they might just throw the towel in. I don't expect them to, though. I think they'll fight all the way. Stokes is a fighter. Baz, I don't know if Baz is a fighter or not. Well, we know Stokes is a fighter, don't we? Everyone's got their baggage. I mean, they talk about Steve Smith's baggage. People make mistakes. Don't know if Steve's was as big as Stokes. Anyway, look, that aside, can you believe it? We are 1-0 up after 2 days of the Ashes. A few things to just discuss about the team and what happened with Usman Khawaja. So it has emerged that Usman Khawaja played a lot of golf in the lead up to this game. Not a lot of net practice, a lot of golf, and his back went. I don't know if you can relate the golf to his back, but I think this is the end of Khawaja's test career. He left Australia short yesterday when he couldn't open the batting. He couldn't open the batting today. Clearly his body, he's just hit that age where it can't stand up to the rigours of a test match. I don't know if playing golf the day before would have affected his back. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know about his preparation. They said in the press conferences that he prepared like he always prepares for a test match, so probably didn't do much. But he looked old in the field. Obviously, the back didn't help with that, but I just think it's time we move on. I mean, he didn't bat well. If he's not fit for the next match, does Travis Head stay at the top of the order? Now, this is something that surprised me. Travis Head said at the press conference he's actually been much keener than I think a lot of people thought to open the batting for Australia. He apparently behind the scenes, he's been happy to open the batting if they thought it was the right way to go. And today he thought, well, it's a small target, take the pressure off Weatherald, and I'll just go up there and open the batting and take it on myself. But yeah, maybe Head's our permanent opening batter in the future. People are talking about how unlucky Bo Webster is. Well, you could, put Head up to open in the next match, stick Webster in the middle order at 6, Green moves up to 5, and all of a sudden that sort of fixes a few problems. The other thing was Nathan Lyon. In hindsight, we didn't need Nathan Lyon for this game. Of course, it's much easier in hindsight, but I think looking at the pink ball test at the Gabba, do we need Nathan Lyon? Is it worth bringing in another bowler? I think it might be. I don't think it's not dropping Lyon. It's just playing horses for courses. So just incredible stuff. And, but there'll be lots to talk about. I'm going to catch up with some of my podcast co-hosts in the next few days and discuss this test match and what this means for the Ashes. But Yeah, I've got a few days now in Perth to reflect on this before my flight back to Sydney. I can't believe it. You know, I went to Adelaide for the test there and it was finished before lunch on the third day, which I thought was early, but finishing on the afternoon of the second day, well, that is something I did not expect. All right, everybody. Well, look, I'm going to wrap up this discussion on day 2. Thanks for tuning into the Cricket Unfiltered podcast. It has been great to have you with me for these 2 days of the test match. And yes, please like, subscribe, leave a comment. Make sure you follow the podcast. There's going to be unrivaled Ashes coverage right throughout this match. I'm not going to be at all the test matches, so the test matches I'm not at, I'm going to go live on YouTube pretty much straight after play to discuss all the action, so you can have some great content. But yeah, thanks for everybody for tuning into the Cricket Unfiltered podcast. I've been Manners, and I'm signing off.